There's nothing holding the currency stable today. I mean, it's fiat. It's printed out of thin air. The banks create the money when you go and take the loan. The money is not just laying in the vault, and when you come and need $1 million, they'll go and grab it for you. Nah, it doesn't work like that. The bank holds nothing. We know that technology is first a military secret, right? And then it becomes a company secret, and then it reaches the public. It goes in those steps. So when Steve Jobs is standing on stage and holding up the iPhone for the first time, we can be pretty fucking certain that that sort of technology have existed for decades.
Welcome to the system, everyone's a victim. Doesn't matter if you're black or white, it hates you all. Here inside the system, violence is a symptom. Fighting for what's right, but somehow everyone is wrong.
Boom shakalaka, welcome motherfucker to an Eldtalk. You know, the Eld spark. Eld, it means fire in Swedish. So we have some fire talk. So let's gather around the digital campfire. Let's put on some logs. Grab a cup of coffee, maybe some popcorn or whatever. Today we're going to talk a little bit about, the monetary mechanics and how it works behind the scenes. I mean, if you look at everything going on around the world today, I mean, unless you lived under a rock, you're probably well aware that some structural changes. Donald Trump is like the spearhead in this change and doing a great job. You also have the BRICS nations, and they are discussing their new monetary strategies, and Donald Trump is protecting the dollar, not necessarily because I think he believes fiat currency is in the best interest of the people, but losing the dollar's status around the world wouldn't be beneficial to America, and he's putting America first, MAGA. And I think other countries can respect that, as they should put their countries first. And I think we can respect that BRICS are looking after their own interests as well. So when they are talking about leaving the dollar, well, it's obviously because the dollar is not as beneficial to the other countries as it is to America, right? So it's just politics behind the scenes. But the bigger issue, like if we zoom out even a little bit, there's nothing holding the currency stable today. I mean, it's fiat. It's printed out of thin air. The banks create the money when you go and take the loan. The money is not just laying in the vault, and when you come and need $1 million, they'll go and grab it for you. Nah, it doesn't work like that. The bank holds nothing. What happens is that they create the money. They press the buttons for a couple, it takes them 10 seconds to give you 10 million, right? And what you need to do now is pay that back plus interest. But when you go and take the loan, the money for the interest that you need was not created at that moment, which obviously means that you need to create a surplus. You need to go out on the market, make a profit, and pay that back to the banks, right? Yes. The problem is that it's not only you who pay interest. Countries pay interest to privately owned banks. Like, does it even make sense that privately owned banks create society's money supply? No, it doesn't. There's no... I don't even know how we ended up here. Human greed and human profit interests have been guiding us into this situation. And the problem is we have tried this back in the days as well, like in the 1350s in Venice, where the bank system had grown so huge that it, like with the tentacles all around the world, it had swallowed basically a huge part of the global trade and economy. So what happened then when the banks crashed was that, well, obviously the Black Plague came 10 pretty straight after the bank crash, like 10, 20 years or something. And it wiped out 1/4, 1/4 to 1/3 of the world's population. Some estimate that, but you never know, right? But there was a big bank crash, and we are running the same system today where the bank system is about to crash, right? So you can't have infinite growth on a finite planet. It is not a possibility at all, right? How would something be able to grow exponentially as well, which is a big problem on a finite planet? Like eventually this system is going to hit the wall, and they have been kicking the can further down the road for a long time. The system was about to crash in 2008. It was the deep state players who tried to bring down the economy at that time, but the good forces, the white hats, the, yeah, whatever you want to call them, the good ones, they did manage to they defended, protected, and made sure that the system didn't crash. So we could also see how from that moment on, 2008, how the economy has developed until now. You obviously have the Ukraine situation where a lot of money is just going into Ukraine and nobody knows where the money goes. Well, it's because they have to print it and then they have to get rid of it, and people can't ask questions. So we kind of have to make sense that, well, we send it to Zelensky, but he doesn't even know. He probably haven't even seen any of the money. He just gets his cocaine and he's happy to do whatever they tell him to do, right? So the COVID situation, and also looking at, I mean, I would be very surprised if Trump didn't know all about the monetary mechanics, the financial system. I'm pretty sure they're all pretty well read in on all of these subjects. But just for like the people, like it's not enough that our leaders are aware of this, because eventually, maybe not straight away, but the bank always come back. Andrew Jackson put on his, or he said on his deathbed, that I killed the banks. And that's a pretty cool statement to say, you know, if it has any truth to it, right? He killed the banks. But the bank inevitably always comes back, right? So the problem is not the banks, actually. It's us, the pawns, the 99%. Who just swallows the pills they serve us. We eat very cheap hot dogs. And they can just continue like this, because it would only take like a couple of decades and we would have a new bank and a new system. So we need to educate ourselves. And that's why we sit around the campfire, enlighten us, talk about monetary mechanics, the geopolitics, and how it all works, right? So we also in Sweden, which is very interesting, have one of the oldest central banks still in operation today. It is the oldest bank in the world. And it came about around the same time as when Axel Oxenstierna were active. And he was he's a very interesting character. He's actually the one who is colonializing America, and the brain behind New Sweden, which was pretty close to the Delaware River, next to it, and they put up Fort Christina until the Dutch came and destroyed that. Which were maybe pretty good, but a lot of people migrated to America in the 19th century. 1813 or something was about the time when they went. right? So it's a fucked up system. And we're going to talk a lot more about this around the campfire. Today is just like an introduction. Please comment, subscribe, and just let me know that this is interesting and that that you would like to know more about Sweden, how Sweden came to be, because it is the elephant in the room. You know, Five Eyes. You have the surveillance networks, the deep state in war on information, and the fight for control over it. You have Canada, the British, America, Australia, New Zealand. They're the Five Eyes. But what they haven't really figured out yet, or maybe they have started to figure it out by now, is that there's a sixth eye, and that is Sweden, because they supply the intelligence agencies with all the information, because Ericsson controls the hardware that the information flow upon. So if you control the wire, you control the information in it. So yes, you have Verizon, you do have Huawei, and you do have the telecom giants, but it is Ericsson's patents. They control the patents, they control the technology, and they are able to surveil the information. And there's also a very interesting fact that about 90% of all information that flows around the world goes through Sweden. And for some reason, Sweden has a law, a FRA law, that says that all information that cross the border needs to be saved for at least 90 days. While other countries would probably have something like, would say, a minimum of a maximum of 90 days before it's deleted. But in Sweden, it's just minimum 90 days, which basically means nothing, because it can exist for forever then, basically. So and Sweden has a lot of servers here. We have Amazon Web Services. Facebook has put up their servers in the north, in Luleå. And you also have Alibaba talking about putting the service here. And Pentagon is, having their service with Amazon Web Services, and you go through Sweden. So Sweden is the connector hub, and you also have Ericsson, 184 countries where they are involved in, and they have they have infrastructure, right? That they can probably control then. And if you look at modern warfare, it's not as much as it was back in the day. It's not with swords and horses and shooting each other with bows and crossbows. It's a little bit different, of course, right? Today, modern warfare is a lot about information warfare and economic sanctions, economic warfare. You have law warfare, lawfare. But it's not as much bullets and pistols and rocket launchers and missiles, because the missiles that exist today, the subsonic missiles that the Russians have, and who knows what America have under the hood, what they have stored in the garage, nobody knows, right? The weapons are so deadly today that if the superpowers like Russia, China, and America started a war, it would only lead to mutual assured destruction, the MAD doctrine, right? It wouldn't make sense. So the war is still going on. Like, if you look back in time, like, two things are certain: banks and war. It's like, I don't know if it's human nature, if it's something in our DNA, but that's the pattern, right? But it has moved on from being as destructive to becoming more about information handling. And if you control the wire, you can see all the information, you will inevitably be a step ahead. And you will be able to plan for turns and twists. you will be able, and talk about AI as well, because we know that technology, and it connects to Ericsson, it connects to the information warfare. With AI, we know that technology is first a military secret, right? And then it becomes a company secret, and then it reaches the public. It goes in those steps. So when, Steve Jobs is standing on stage and holding up the iPhone for the first time, we can be pretty fucking certain that that sort of technology have existed for decades. I mean, if you go back to cybernetics, and that book is from the 1943, 44, and it talks about creating a massive data gathering system, and it was needed to have a lot of data to calculate on, right? So already then they were talking about like some early Facebook and metadata gathering tools. So we can also be pretty sure that when Meta comes, like when Mark Zuckerberg is starting Facebook, we can be pretty sure that that had already been planned out. And it was just a step in leading us to where we are today. And it's a global enlightening campaign controlled from the highest levels of military intelligence. The Q movement, I don't know, the QAnon movement. There's Q and there's Anons, right? So Q is a program to make us think for ourselves, right? And that goes step by step. So when you say that somebody's awake, yeah, they're able to think for themselves. And when someone is sleeping, they just look at the news, and whatever the media is telling them is their reality, is their truth. So we are all trying to reach that point, right? So bear with us, jump with us. Let's go across the pond, my American friends. Put some marshmallows on the campfire, pop some popcorn, and let's see what happens. This is episode 1. No, it's now episode 6, I think, in English. Let me know what you think. Comment, like, subscribe, and let me know what we should talk about here next. All right, take care and have a great day.